going on, but we're
Me now?
back, which is great. I can hear you now, which is great, and you can hear me.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry
We
to
had three
everybody. So sorry.
questions. Yeah. If you
Thank
guys
you.
could
Yeah.
just write down questions again, because we don't have them now in this new live. But I wrote the first one was about your next projects.
Yes, and I saw another one too about the difference between screenwriting and novel writing, so I can answer those two. Next projects, three. Two are not my TV shows, and one is. So I'm excited about that. And all of them are in development. So which basically means it's with a producer and or a network. And one of the ones that's not mine is set in a Muslim family in Montreal. So that's very fun. And then the other one is young people in Toronto. And the third one is a Muslim family based on me growing up in Alberta. So those are the three. Yeah. So, but it's in
Okay.
development, so it's a long
Lily's
distance
saying
from, what's that?
Lily's saying you're so productive.
Uh, well, currently, not always.
Okay. Okay. So let me just finish like the second question of DJ Claude. I think it's about working in Quebec, but you didn't really work in Quebec, so it's not really relevant to you.
Working directly, is that what you said? Sorry, Reem.
That is, you work in the francophone area. What differences did you notice in Quebec and the anglophone provinces? I don't know if that really applies to you.
It doesn't right now because, the show might be,
Okay.
the characters might be set, but I'm not working. I mean, although Transplant is filmed there, so the crew and the producers would definitely know. They're based in Montreal too, but for me, no, doesn't make a difference. But yeah, and there was one other question, Reem, that I noticed about the difference between novel writing and screenwriting, and yeah, I know you cut out, Reem, but I'll just keep going. And with the novel writing and screenwriting, one of the biggest differences is collaboration. What's been so brilliant for me working in TV and film is when you're working with people you really connect with, you can work so much faster and you can sometimes get to better places. So that's what's been a joy. And of course, there's challenges too. I mean, the joy of working as a novelist is really completely, it's your voice and your voice alone. So the thing that's the benefit is also the struggle sometimes because you are alone. So that's one big difference. And the other difference is, might sound funny, but in a novel, it's so dense and the number of pages that are required. And in TV, a script, even though there's equally difficult and more work and a lot of work, it's a lot of white space on the page. So it's a different kind of challenge. It becomes more poetic in many ways because it's much more succinct. And in a novel, I mean, poets are great novelists. It's just the labor of the amount of words because you're set designer, you're like producer, you're the lighting person, you're everything. So it's got its own kind of exhilaration and challenge. So that would be some of the differences. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Did you?
So I have two people asking here because they know previous question that Transplant was filmed in Montreal, but you said that you were in the writer's room in Toronto. Not you were not in the
Yes.
Montreal. Right? Okay. Just
Yeah.
to
I mean,
clarify.
I was not. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I
Cool.
mean, they were.
Uh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's it. That's it.
Okay. So we have one more.
Oh no, Reem. Sorry,
So
you're.
the next question
Say
is,
it again.
how
You're
do you
breaking up again.
juggle?
Sorry.
Okay. So the question is, how do you juggle so many projects?
Not very well. I'm just joking. I yeah, you have to you kind of, it's almost like a part of the way TV works is the juggling of multiple projects. I actually found it really hard at the beginning. I still sometimes struggle with it, but I also like it because, you know, when you're struggling with one project, you can go on to the next one. Not, you don't always have that luxury because deadlines are on you. So that's the other thing about TV. It just works so much faster. And some people don't like that. I kind of love it. I love it because, you know what? It forces you to do things and think in ways that I wouldn't necessarily have done, you know? So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
We have a question. I don't know if you can read it. How did you get started with both writing novels and screenwriting?
yeah, I mean, you know, it didn't quite happen that way. I started, I was saying to Reem that I started in the corporate world, made a decision to leave all of that to try to become a writer. Went and did my MFA at UBC, where you can write a screenplay or a book or short stories. And I wrote a collection of short stories. And then that collection sold, and the publisher, who was Penguin, also bought the novel. So I wasn't sure what I was going to write next, but because they bought that, I ended up writing the novel. And in that process, I realized, oh my goodness, I'm not sure I want to spend this many years again writing a novel, because a novel can take, you know, if you're fast, maybe 2, 3 years, but on average about 5 to 7 years, you know? And so that's a long time. And I just felt like that combined with, you know, something that I really felt, and I don't know if people in the audience will connect to this, but or you, Reem, is that I felt like even though my parents, my mom in particular, you know, it's not like they knew I'd made this decision. They weren't always thrilled that I'd become a writer over like leaving the business world for all sorts of reasons, less secure,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff, and you know the typical stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I felt like to reach a greater, bigger audience, including people like my mom, who aren't reading necessarily, and she would watch a TV show or a movie. And it started making me think about access to people and access to communities that I really cared about. I'm telling those stories, and I want to tell them in a universal way, but I also wanted to reach people like us. So
Mm-hmm.
I went to the CFC, and that's what kind of started my career in
Okay.
TV and film. The
So
CFC
you
is the
also
Canadian,
care.
yeah,
Oh,
sorry. Yeah, I was just going to tell
you
people
also
if they don't know, it's the Canadian Film Center, which is based here. So, yeah.
okay. So you also cared about impact. You wanted your work to have impact, not just
Yeah,
do it because you love it.
yeah, no, absolutely. It just happened to be this lovely collision, sorry, of something I really didn't expect to love. I didn't expect to love TV, you know, but TV's also changed. It's so much more, uh, you know, it's like much more interesting than it used to be like years ago. So this is really more fun. And also I love the working with people. And being creative, but doing it with people feels somehow a really nice balance. And ironically, my business background also helps me because you're working with producers, money is always involved. Sometimes you're making creative
Mm-hmm.
decisions based on that. So, which is weird as a novelist, because you know I can do anything in a novelist and no one cares. And but in TV, it matters. So I like the all of those things working together. Yeah.
Great. Next question is anyone from the show measuring the impact of the show on Canadians' views towards refugees?
Yeah, what a good question. I don't know. I know. I don't think there's any way, because also I would
Okay.
wonder how you would measure, you know? I would wonder how you measured, but I'm quite sure they're not, but not that I know of. But I tell you what's exciting for me is that, you know, it's always exciting for me that people who feel like they know and love Bash and his little sister. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like to me when I hear that, it's like they're people who may or may not have been you know, not because they consider themselves racist or anything, but they didn't think they had not they've when you're in a majority, you don't always have to think about other things because things
Mm-hmm.
are the world is as you wish it, you know, sometimes,
Yeah.
often, but when, you know, they're getting a different perspective. And that is kind of wonderful. So I think it's got to be having some impact.
Okay.
Just don't know how much.
Okay. That's one thing that I love also the flashbacks because they're Bash and his sister are very relatable. Like, you know, people can
Yeah.
easily love them, but also seeing what happened in like the like visually having that scene of I don't want to spoil it for people who didn't watch it, but like just what happened back in Syria is really important because if you see them now, you couldn't guess what they've
Yeah.
gone through. Okay, so we have a question that's about
Yeah.
if you followed screenwriter courses and workshops. You talked about the Canadian Film Center. Is that the? Can you talk about it maybe?
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
the program?
sure. So Canadian Film Center, based here, Norman Jewison started it. It's kind of considered the gold standard in film and TV education. What's brilliant about it is it's you if you get in, and it's a little hard to get in, but you know, I'd encourage you to do it. They also have great workshops to like try to help you. And if anyone needs any help on that, reach out to me through Reem, and I'm happy to help you. Um, because it's really like you meet everybody who's who in the Canadian industry, and that's so important. So it's a crash course, literally. For me, I came from the novel world, so it was literally like I went into film first, got into TV after. It's a crash course on for a sec. And so that
Yeah.
was really because it's not, you don't necessarily learn how to the actual craft of screenwriting, but you're also learning, you're with like-minded people. In my lab, the writers lab, there's 5 of us, but you're also directors and producers and editors and actors. So suddenly you're in this space. It's almost like being at camp, where you're, you know, like with each other, literally like 20 hours a day sometimes, because you're making things together. So it's, and I think their process is, if I remember correctly, deadlines are like January. As a writer, you have to submit in film script, and in TV, you have to do an original as well as something called a spec. A spec would be a show for if you don't know, it's a show that's already on, and you're going to, in a sense, mimic it, but make it your own. And you can look that up easily, just do TV spec scripts. But if you look up the CFC and their application process, it'll tell you a bunch of stuff in there. Yeah.
Okay. And at the end of that, you wrote a script, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I had a script already, and then I edited it and finished it there. But then I also made my first 2 films there. And those films have been kind of part of my portfolio. They kind of helped me get the next thing, which was a development deal at CBC. And then that led to a bunch of different things, including eventually Transplant. So yeah, so there's a bunch of things that it led to. And I think that's true for many people who come out of this a CFC. Oh, someone's saying a CFC's crash on. It's a crash course on filmmaking or TV writing. I mean, it's other kinds of things at the CFC. Just if you look up the Canadian Film Center.
It's
Yeah.
TV, right? Okay. Froze again.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not sure why. I mean, I think it's okay. We're making it work. So that's good. Thanks everyone for your patience.
Yeah. You. So we have time for maybe one more question. If anyone has a
Sure.
question, it's time. Connection issues. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Instagram is doing
Uh, you're
well.
welcome. It's been, yeah, so sweet. Thank you for all the, I'm loving all the hearts. Thank you. As a writer is like, you know, spend so much time alone writing that it's nice to get that.
Okay. Well, I guess we don't have any more questions, so I'm gonna thank you. Thanks a lot for being with us tonight, and it's really a pleasure talking to you and learning from you. And
It's been, yeah, I
oh,
saw one last, did you see that too, Reem? What's,
we
I
have
was,
one
what's your ideal show pitch?
question. If you want,
So,
what would
should I
you?
go ahead and answer, Reem, or should I just, we don't have time? Yeah, yeah, okay. Um, my ideal show pitch? Oh goodness. I'm not exactly sure if the person's meaning show pitch in terms of what I would want to pitch. But for me, I'm always excited. So the couple things I'm working on, that one that is in development is a comedy set in a Muslim family. So, which me, I mean, to be honest, I love anything that I love. My range of stories are kind of like broad like this. I'm working on a police procedural. I'm working on a comedy, and I'm working on this. Those two are mine. The other two are not. One is it's like I was telling you, it's a Muslim family set in Montreal, but it's a black comedy, and it's so that's completely its own thing. And it's like, there's a lot of things that are in the show that would not be normally my thing. So what I like, I don't know if I have an ideal, but for me, if the characters are authentic, that's the most important thing to me. Like if the characters, whoever those people are, that's super exciting.
Just Lily just wrote that your favorite idea for a show. That's what she means. So
Oh,
you.
favorite idea for a show. Oh my goodness. Well, of what's out there, some of the shows that I love currently are Killing Eve, Fleabag. Those are two. We talked about Rami a lot. I put Rami up there because he's doing groundbreaking stuff. And then you know what? I also like things on the other silly end of things. Like some of my favorite shows are Arrested Development for the absolute. I would like to see that in a Muslim family or a immigrant family. That would be super fun. Like this ridiculous dysfunctional family and doing like outrageously criminally kind of some criminal stuff. That would be so fun instead of only the good refugee guy, right? So hopefully there's a lot
Yeah.
of room still for us to do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you want to answer this one, Bandit. What did you
Oh,
think, I guess, about the little mosque in the prairie? I don't know
oh
about the
yeah.
show.
Listen, I didn't, you know what about the show? Oh, it's a show that's older. Reem, it was on CBC, set in Saskatchewan, I think, about a small community, and it really follows what's going on at the mosque. And it's I actually was when it was going on, I was living in Mexico, so I don't know it that well, but I know it had a big impact on people, in the sense of like it was very sitcom-y, so it had a certain kind of thing, but brilliant in the sense of like, we'd never seen stuff like that before on TV, and I know it's got like a lot of following around the world, so it's kind of, and it's great, and it came from here. I wish now we need more of those. Like we need multiple more of those, and that was because that was from a few years ago. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Thank you very much, and
Uh,
have a great evening.
Thank you. You too, Reem. Thank you for inviting me, and congrats on all the good work you're doing at Filmmakers. It's really great, and I'm excited. I'm excited to hear about more women of color writing. So that's great.
Um,
Okay.
thank you. Bye.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.